Lucy checked her wristwatch impatiently for the third time as she waited for Tom to show up with her lunch. She thought about giving him a call to find out what was keeping him, but remembered that she didn't even have his phone number. How could she call him her friend when she didn't have his number? She made a mental note to exchange numbers with him when he brings her lunch. It wasn't like she couldn't go down to get her own lunch, but somehow her mind was becoming programmed to expect him to deliver it. When he comes, she would just tell him how she had caught a glimpse of the boss and tell him what she thought the CEO looks like. And then she would ask him to leave before the boss comes out. She still had no intention of allowing him to eat with her. Who knew if his madness comes only when they were eating together? Her thoughts were interrupted when a knock sounded on the door, and she looked up when the door was pushed open, expecting to see Tom, but her brows creased when her secretary walked in, instead of Tom. Yes? She asked as she looked at her secretary in confusion, wondering why she was in her office with a lunch pack. Your driver asked me to bring this to you. He is having lunch with someone, so he couldn't bring it up himself, she explained, making Lucy's brow furrow. He asked you to bring this to me? Yes, ma'am, the secretary said with a nod. Who is he having lunch with? Male or female? Lucy asked thoughtfully, thinking that he was probably having lunch with the lady he liked, and this might be her chance to find out who the lady was and what she looked like. Female. A staff? Lucy asked, making the secretary wonder if something was going on between Lucy and her driver, or perhaps Lucy was just upset that her driver had chosen not to deliver her lunch because Bee was busy with someone else. I don't know. I don't know all the staff in the company, she answered politely. Thank you. You can leave now, Lucy said dismissively, and tried to stay calm long enough for the secretary to have left the hallway before picking up the lunch pack and rushing out of her office in the direction of the elevator. She needed to be fast before they would both leave the cafeteria. Once she got out of the elevator, she looked around, wondering where the cafeteria was. And then she noticed some of the staff coming from a particular direction. She decided the cafeteria had to be in that direction. So she walked in that direction, trying not to attract any attention to herself. She didn't need to spend a lot of time looking around before she spotted Tom at one end of the hall, seated with a beautiful blonde lady. He was seated, with his back to the entrance, while the lady was directly facing Lucy. Seeing the lady's bare legs, which were crossed under the table, Lucy could tell she was wearing a pretty short skirt. Was this his taste in women? She wondered as she watched them converse from the distance. I suppose you were coming here to have lunch? You should go and get something for yourself, Tom suggested, wanting to take his leave. Anita raised a brow very slightly. The Tom she knew would have offered to help her get her lunch like the gentleman he was. It seemed like his physical appearance wasn't the only thing that had changed about him. What about you? Don't you want to get something for yourself? Anita asked with a curious smile. No, I only came here to get lunch for my boss. And now that I've done that, I need to attend to something else, Tom said, waiting for her to take the clue. His boss? So he worked here? Let's talk for a bit before you leave, okay? It's not like we are enemies, even though you dumped me, she said with a small smile. Tom leaned back in his seat and looked at her without saying a word as he waited to hear what she wanted to talk about. Taking his silence as a go-ahead, she asked, So what about you? What are you doing here? I'm one of the company's drivers, Tom said in a flat tone, making her wrinkle her nose in disapproval. She had been expecting something better. How typical, Tom thought in his head. He had noticed how her attitude towards him had changed from the moment he told her he was a handyman. She had taken their relationship for granted because she thought he was a mere handyman, and now she was going to be under his payroll. How funny. He wondered how she was going to react when she finally gets to know his true identity. I don't suppose you are the CEO's driver, are you? She asked hopefully, leaning forward to hear his response. No, but I drive his personal assistant, Tom said, and Anita pursed her lips as though she was thinking about it. After a while, she shrugged. Not bad. I guess you must have seen the CEO then? Anita asked hopefully, making Tom narrow his eyes. No, Why? Nothing. Just curious, she said, flashing him a smile. It wouldn't be a very wise idea to tell her supposed ex that she wanted to meet the CEO and seduce him. At least, not yet. She looked at Tom with pursed lips as she tried to decide whether to stick to him until she found out all she could about the CEO from him, or offer to pay him a huge sum of money for him to help her meet the CEO. Is the CEO's personal assistant a male or female? She asked in a casual tone. A lady. A very beautiful young lady, Tom added as he watched her. Anita seemed like a pretty ambitious person, so he could guess that she was probably nursing ideas of meeting the CEO and getting involved with him. Well, if that was what she was thinking, he hoped she wouldn't waste too much time on her pipe dream. Anita smiled at him. She had no problem with his personal assistant being beautiful or young. She was just as beautiful and young too, and as such, couldn't be intimidated by that. If the CEO's personal assistant was anything like her, by now their marriage would have made the first page of the tabloids, but it seemed like the CEO's personal assistant wasn't interested in him, or she probably just wasn't his type. Anita decided she was just going to become best friends with the CEO's personal assistant, since all she wanted was an opportunity to meet the CEO. Hopefully, the lady would be her ticket to meeting Thomas Hanks. How is Snow? Tom asked for lack of anything else to say. Anita smiled at the mention of her pet. He is very fine. That's good to know. It's nice seeing you again, Tom said as he started to pull back his seat from the table. Don't tell me you are leaving already, Anita asked with a frown. I am. Have a nice day, Tom said as politely as he could muster before standing up and walking away from the table without giving Anita the chance to say anything else. Once Lucy saw Tom getting out of his seat, she quickly hurried away so he wouldn't see her and hid in a corner until he left. Judging by the way the lady had been smiling while talking to Tom, Lucy couldn't tell if this was the lady he liked, or perhaps she was one of those ladies who wanted him, and he was using to mislead the lady he liked, as she had advised. Whoever the lady was, she was going to become friends with her and every other lady she sees around Tom. That way he would think twice before trying to initiate anything amorous between them. Once she was certain he had left for real, Lucy returned to the cafeteria. She was glad when she saw Anita heading for her seat with a tray of food. She took a moment to think about the best way to approach Anita, and then decided to just do the natural thing since she was carrying her lunch pack. She took in a deep breath before approaching Anita's table. Hi! Once Tom returned to his office, he dialed Harry's line and asked him to meet him in his office at once. The first thing Harry noticed when he walked into the office was Lucy's absence, and the next was the frown on Tom's face. Did you send your assistant out? The crease on Tom's brow deepened. Lucy? No. Why? Tom asked curiously. I'm just surprised that she isn't on her seat. You know she hardly leaves her office, so I was just wondering where she went to. Anyway, why did you send for me? Harry asked, changing the subject. Call her and find out where she went to, Tom instructed. Or did her secretary fail to deliver the lunch as he instructed, and she went to get her meal? Tom wondered. Okay, Harry said and dialed Lucy's line. Lucy, who was just about to introduce herself to Anita, paused when her phone started ringing and she noticed the call was from Harry. Excuse me, she said to Anita as she turned away from her. Hello, sir. Harry placed the call on loudspeaker. Miss Perry, the CEO would like to know why you're not on your seat, he said, making Lucy's heart skip a beat. Was it just her, or did everyone else feel this way each time the CEO's name was mentioned? Lucy wondered. Maybe it was because of how harsh he had been the first time they had spoken. I only stepped out to have lunch at the cafeteria, Lucy explained, trying hard not to stutter as she spoke. Hold on, Harry said before placing the call on mute and looking at Tom. She said she is having lunch at the cafeteria, Harry explained. I'm not deaf. Didn't her secretary deliver the lunch I sent to her? Tom asked Harry with a frown, and Harry rolled his eyes before unmuting the call. I thought I saw your secretary taking a lunch pack to your office? Harry asked, and Lucy winced. Yes, she did. I wasn't sure the CEO would appreciate me eating in the office, so I decided to eat at the cafeteria, Lucy lied, and Harry nodded. Okay, then. You should hurry up and get back to your office. In case of next time, you can eat in your office. I'm sure the CEO prefers that to you being so far away from him, Harry said before hanging up. Now that we've cleared that up, why did you call me? Harry asked curiously. I ran into Anita at the cafeteria a moment ago, Tom said, making Harry frown. Anita? What was she doing here? Don't tell me she found out about you, Harry asked with round eyes. Harry had only heard of Anita, but he had never met her, since Tom felt it would be suspicious for a handyman like him to present someone like Harry as his friend. She didn't find out about me, but according to her, she came here to have a meeting with Mr. Harry, Tom said, and it finally clicked in Harry's head. Don't tell me Miss Miller from Ocean's Airline is your Anita? Harry asked in surprise. First of all, she isn't my Anita. To answer your question, yes. Her name is Anita Miller. What is her role in Ocean Airlines? Is she someone we can relieve of her duties? Tom asked, making Harry raise a brow. You're not someone to mix business with pleasure, apart from your recent craziness, though. So why are you thinking of doing that? Harry asked. I'm not mixing business with pleasure. I'm only trying to avoid the kind of trouble I think someone like her might bring with her. So answer my question, Tom repeated. Unfortunately, you can't avoid this trouble. If you remember correctly, Mr. Wyatt gave you some conditions before agreeing to sell Ocean Airlines to you, and one of them includes the names of some staff you have to retain. She is on the top of the list, and that is why I decided to meet with them to know them personally, Harry explained. I suppose you've found out what her relationship is with Mr. Wyatt? Tom asked, knowing that Harry would have done all of that before inviting her over. Harry gave him a nod of agreement. Sure. She is his niece, so you can see that you can't fire her. At least not yet, and not without a very good reason, Harry added. I see. And what do you think about her? I mean professionally. I think she is very intelligent and ambitious, although she kept asking about the CEO, Harry said with a grin. Yeah, she asked me too, Tom said with a sigh, making Harry chuckle. Now I know why you're worried. Anyway, I will keep my eyes on her. Don't worry too much, and just focus on goofing around, since that seems to be your specialty this period, Harry said with a chuckle as he headed for the door. You're lucky you're my best friend, else you'd be out of the job by now, Tom muttered under his breath, making Harry turn to look at him. No, I think you are the lucky one. Who else would be able to have your back as I do? Huh? Harry asked with a cocky smile. Just get out of my sight before I fire you, Tom threatened. Please do. That way I can finally tell Miss Perry all that my mouth has been itching to tell her before I retire. I will also sing to Anita all that she needs to know about the CEO. That would surely keep you busy, Harry said with a wink before walking away. Meanwhile, at the cafeteria, both ladies were staring at each other, and Anita had a big smile on her face as she wondered what luck had dragged her newest bestie to her table. She had been surprised when Lucy had asked if she could join her table because she didn't like to eat alone. But she had been even more surprised when Lucy introduced herself. So you're saying you are the CEO's personal assistant? She asked Lucy, just to be certain it wasn't a misunderstanding. Yeah. I resumed the office just a few days ago, Lucy explained, wondering why the lady seemed more excited about her position than she was. That's so cool. So I guess Tom is your driver? Anita asked as she sized up Lucy with her eyes, even though a smile was pasted on her lips. She had to admit that Lucy was as beautiful as Tom had hinted, but she could also tell that Lucy was naive. Yes, he is. He's a very nice guy, isn't he? Lucy asked with a wide smile. Sure he is, Anita agreed with a nod. A very nice guy, but not just for her. She could do better than a driver. How do you know Tom? Is he your friend? Lucy asked curiously. There was no way she was going to tell Lucy that Tom was her ex. I won't exactly call him a friend. He is just someone I know, Anita said with a smile. Someone she knows? Did that mean she was the one? Lucy thought excitedly. I see. So what about you? I mean your department in the company, Lucy asked, shifting the topic from Tom. iGlobal Airline, formerly called Ocean Airline, Anita explained. Oh, maybe this explained why Tom didn't know her name or her department? Because she wasn't stationed here. Why was she at the cafeteria then? I didn't realize the staff there now had their office here, Lucy said with a small smile. No, we don't. We just had a meeting with Mr. Harry, and I decided to grab lunch before leaving. Anita explained, and Lucy smiled in understanding. By the way, do you know I always thought that any lady that works directly with the CEO must be the luckiest woman in the world? How do you feel about working for him? Don't you just love him? Anita asked with an innocent smile, wanting to know what Lucy really thought about the CEO. Lucky? I don't know about that. Heaven knows I'd gladly let someone else take the job, if the CEO permits it, Lucy said, making Anita raise a brow. Why? Is he not your type? I'm just not interested in him that way, Lucy said with a shake of her head, and Anita relaxed before giving Lucy her first genuine smile. Now that she was sure Lucy wasn't a competition, she could work on becoming friends with her. Brian was standing outside the guest bedroom, which Sonia was using with his hand raised midair as though he was trying to knock. Ever since Sonia disappeared inside the bedroom after she had her breakfast, she was yet to come out, and it was almost 5 p.m. already. Was that how she worked? Or was she sleeping? He wondered. Not that he liked her anyway, but even her unwelcome presence was presence too, and better than the absence and loneliness in the house. He had tried keeping himself busy with one of her books, as he had done before, but it seemed like since his brain was aware that the author of the book was around, his brain didn't want to pay attention to anything in the book. Thankfully, the sound of his front door being opened informed him that Matt was around. He quickly hurried away from there. Sonia could stay there for as long as she liked. That was her business. As long as he now had company, all was well with his world again. Where is she? Matt whispered immediately. Brian stepped into the living room to welcome him. She is in one of the guest bedrooms. Let's go to the poolside. Brian whispered back as he followed Matt into the other spare bedroom, and they dropped his luggage there. After leaving his luggage in the bedroom, they headed for the poolside, where they both sat down on the recliner chairs there, with straw hats over their head to shield them from the rays of the evening sun, and a glass of wine in their hands. So come on, give me all the details of everything that happened between you both since she arrived, Matt suggested as he sipped from his wine. Nothing much. She asked me to take her to my favorite fun place, and I took her to S&G. You did? But that isn't your favorite fun place. As a matter of fact, you avoid that place because you don't want the reputation that goes with it. So why did you... Oh, unless you wanted to scare her? Matt asked in amusement when it finally occurred to him, did it work? Unfortunately, it happens to be her favorite fun place, Brian said with a wry smile, which made Matt hoot with laughter, and some of the wine in his glass spilled on the gray-colored shirt he was wearing. You have got to be kidding me, Matt said as he dropped his glass on the table between them and kept laughing. I kid you not. That witch is just not anything a normal person should be. Anyway, I found out the club wasn't really as evil as people made it sound. Their strippers are extra sexy and give a very good show, Brian said with a grin. You mean she allowed you to do all of that? Matt asked, his mouth agape. Allowed? She actually invited the strippers herself. I told you she isn't normal, didn't I? Brian asked, and Matt whistled in confusion. Isn't she just every man's dream woman? I really want to meet her now, he said with an impressed smile on his face. Every man's dream woman? I don't know about every man, but I do know she is nothing like mine, Brian said confidently as he nursed his glass of wine. Come on, quit pretending. I'm very sure a part of you is intrigued by her. You are only annoyed that her presence in your life is making things difficult for you, Matt pointed out with a grin. Brian decided to change the subject and ignore what Matt said. I need you to do me a favor, will you? Brian said, making Matt cock a brow. I know this might sound crazy, but don't say no outrightly until you think about it. No, Matt said with a shake of his head. Huh? Brian asked in confusion, wondering why he was saying no when he was yet to hear what he wanted to say. You heard me. I've given you the answer already. The fact that you think it might sound crazy means it is actually crazy, and that is a big red flag. I'm not thinking about it, Matt said stubbornly as he picked up his glass of wine and sipped from it again. You should at least hear what it is first, Brian hissed at him. Since I know it's going to sound crazy and I won't do it, there's no point in listening to anything about it. I'm hungry now. What do you have in the kitchen? Matt asked as he stood up, ready to return inside the house. How can you call yourself my best friend if you can't even hear me out or do me this favor? Brian asked in annoyance. You're the one who announced to the world that we were best friends. I didn't, so that emotional blackmail won't fly, Matt said as he kept walking while Brian followed him. There is no food. You'll have to order for something, Brian said grudgingly, making Matt stop in his track to look at Brian. Are you starving your guest? It's not like I invited her, but she's the one starving me. You won't believe she prepared breakfast for just herself this morning, Brian said incredulously. I would do the same if I was in her shoes, Matt said with a tsk before walking away with both hands dipped in his pocket. Once they opened the screen door and walked inside the house, Sonia walked out of the kitchen with an apron draped around her neck and a radiant smile on her face. Hello, Matt, she greeted as she stepped forward to embrace him, making Brian narrow his eyes. What was she up to? Wow, you look so stunning in person that I'm about to go blind, Matt said, raising his hands to cover his eyes. Sonia giggled at that. Save the flattery for someone else. I'm sorry I wasn't out to welcome you when you got here. I had no idea you were here already. I was very busy until I remembered he mentioned something about you coming over. So I came out to fix something dinner, Sonia explained, making Matt turn to glare at Brian before taking Sonia's hands in his and raising it to his lips. My loyalty is to you, my queen, Matt said, and Sonia giggled some more, while Brian scowled at the traitor he called his friend. You know, I was coming inside to find something to eat, but since you're trying to fix something already, just tell me what I can do. That way we can get to know each other while we cook. Matt suggested, and Sonia nodded eagerly as she intertwined her arm with his, and they both walked to the kitchen like they've been best friends forever. So, tell me something. Did he invite you over to help him kick me out? Sonia asked, for Matt's ears only. Matt looked down at her, surprised that she had put the dots together so quickly. Why would you think that? He asked, trying to sound like he was shocked because of the absurdity of her question. Come on, Matt, don't insult me, Sonia said, looking at him with a wide smile. It was obvious to him that Sonia was more intelligent than they were giving her credit for, so he chuckled instead. What if he did? Take a good look at me, Matt. Do I look like the type to be kicked out? You shouldn't waste your time plotting any nonsense with him. I'm the writer amongst us three, and you both are the actors. Don't you think you should leave all the plotting to me? Sonia asked with a confident smile. Now Matt felt really sorry for his best friend. It was obvious Brian had bitten more than he could chew, and unfortunately, he had no one to blame for his folly. Why are you doing this? Matt asked Sonia curiously as she moved away from him to set everything she needed to fix dinner. I don't think I can trust you with such information yet. But what I can assure you is that I do not have any evil intentions towards your friend. So let's all live together peacefully for the time being, okay? Sonia asked with an outstretched hand. Fair enough, Matt said as he shook her hand. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'm really hungry. What I can do? He asked, and soon they both got busy with preparing dinner and getting to know each other. Brian, who was seated in the living room, gritted his teeth each time he heard either of them laugh out loud. He had been happy that Matt was going to be here to keep him company, but he seemed to be enjoying his time with Sonia a little too much. He cocked his head when something occurred to him. Was it possible that this was part of Matt's plan to get Sonia off him? Maybe he could also utilize the situation and get pictures of them. That way he would have evidence to show that Sonia was flirting with his friend. He picked up his phone, and just as he was about to stand up and head to the kitchen, his phone beeped with an Instagram notification message, and he opened it to see that Sonia had once again tagged him to some photos. A sigh escaped from his lips when he saw the pictures of Sonia and Matt, who was also now wearing a similar apron with Sonia, standing beside each other with Sonia's hand on Matt's waist, and goofy smiles on their faces. The caption was actually what made him sigh. Both best friends are so adorable that I'm having a hard time sticking to just Brian. I think I might be falling for Matt. Who is your favorite, Brian or Matt? He checked the comments and threw his phone on the couch when he saw so many ahs with hearts. She was definitely a witch. There was no convincing him otherwise.